What is the state of our movement nowadays? Well, it ain't pretty. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. My name is David Silverman, and I used to do a State of the Movement address at every American Atheist convention. And recently, President Biden gave his State of the Union address, and I realized that now might be a good time for me to revise this and just look at the movement on the whole and see what I see and just report what I see. And hopefully, you will find this informative, and hopefully, maybe even this presentation will do a little good. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the atheism movement today, the state of the movement. We begin with the state of the country and the world, and we're going to talk a little bit about the political polarization of religion, how religion is being used to divide the country, when it wasn't being used like that before. We'll talk about the legal situation. We've had some losses, and we're going to talk about that, and some other dividers that are actually making things worse. And then I want to start talking about the movement. What are the players doing? What are the organizations doing? And yeah, we have to talk about toxic feminism. We've seen a lot of toxic feminism over the past, well, a long time. Some would argue a very long time. But we need to talk about it, and we need to address what it's doing, what it has done to the movement. Finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think must change in the movement and where we need to improve and what we need to be doing as a movement. Finally, I'll give a little epilogue with a little bit of levity. But first, let's talk about the state of the country and the state of the world. The environment has changed indeed. Now, that's a picture of name. Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson, and they had a recent discussion about how much they hate atheists on TV, and many of you might have seen that. The left is using religious nationalism as a new talking point, and it's democracy's greatest threat. And that is doing is it is creating an us-them mentality, not along political lines, but on religious lines. And that is a really, really dangerous thing that they're doing. By calling out religious nationalism as the bad guy, they're pushing away religious people on their side, and they're pushing atheists away from the other side. They're trying to divide on religious grounds. The loss of abortion rights, if you look at the rhetoric, means they're coming next for whatever rights they think you're coming next at, whether it's gay marriage or whatever. And what you're seeing from the left overall is a sense of intolerance for Christianity. They don't tolerate Christianity, even if they're Democrats. Christianity is being seen from the left as a negative thing. This is a new twist to how religion is being used. On the right, the trend to being tolerant toward atheism seems to have reversed as a response. Like I said, 3-4 years ago, they weren't talking about how bad atheists were. But when atheists became the left, and the left started talking about the Christians on the right, then this gulf has recreated. And now the religious right has been energized, because the Christians now see atheists as the enemy once again. Christians now see atheists as the adversary once again, even if they're Republican. So there's this us versus them attitude that is actually pushing atheists into the middle where there is no home for them. Atheists are the bad guys once again because the left is atheistic. That's the problem. That's one of the problems that we're seeing. Now, if we look at the legal defense, the legal landscape. That's Madeline. I love Madeline. She's still my idol. She still did a whole bunch of wonderful work, and we lost most of it last year. Okay, we lost most of Madeline's accomplishments last year, and I think that we need to take a moment to talk about what happened last year, what we lost last year. We lost the lemon test, okay? We lost the lemon test. We lost the test to see if something was pushing religion, had a secular purpose. we lost it. So there is no longer a test to make sure a new law doesn't advance religion. That is no longer a problem. Advancing religion itself is no longer a problem. This law has been used to defend numerous lawsuits for atheism, and they won on our side, this law, this lemon test, and all now may be revisited over time. So we can expect new laws coming from the right, which will overtly promote religion. And that's coming. And we're going to see that. We also lost private school vouchers. I hate this slide. We lost private school vouchers, which means taxpayer funds may now be used for religious schools. And now, what does that mean? We will see less money for public schools and more for private. The money is going to be taken out of the public schools, going into the private, which will make the public school less attractive because they'll have less money. So more people will go to private schools, and most of that will be religious. Those private schools will teach religion using public school funds. All legal, all now. We lost the big one. Well, and then we lost this one, school prayer. We lost school prayer last year. Did you know that? I did a video about it, but yeah, we lost school prayer. Coaches can lead kids in prayer now because the coach's urge to pray has been elevated in status above the need for the church to stay, for the school to stay secular. And that means teachers will be doing it. What a depressing slide. Let's look at something else that's depressing. Other dividers. Now, what I want to stress about this is that the World Economic Forum just met, okay? And everybody was talking about it, and everybody's talking about, you will own nothing and be happy, and you'll eat bugs, and you'll live in a pod, blah, blah, all that stuff. Nobody at this World Economic Forum talked about religion. And I'm not comfortable with that. Okay? I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with the World Economic Forum, who is going to give us central bank digital currencies and do, really, really control a large, if they get their way, a large portion of everybody's lives, not having any even lip service to religious freedom. That scares me. That's not good. That tells me that it tells me that they're anti-religion. That tells me that religion was pushed out and ignored. And look, I'm all about religion being gone, but I don't want religion forced out. I don't want dogmatic atheism. I'll get to that in a second. And yeah, let's talk about Hollywood. If you want to talk about dividing factors, you're talking about Hollywood with, all the movie studios are putting out woke left dogma. They're canceling out stars that have conservative leanings, and of course they're putting the devil at the Grammys. And this was just a slap in the face to the religious people. Okay, again, then Hollywood is very left, and they are pushing away religious people. This is not how we have a cohesive country. We do not want to divide on religion. We do not want to be dogmatic in atheism. So my summary is that the religion is now being used by both sides to divide the country. And again, this does not end well. It becomes a religious war. It becomes religious believers versus atheists. It's not okay. It really looks like they're just trying to replace whatever religion you might have had on the left with wokeism as their religion, which is very, very online with, Chairman Mao's little red book, and that's what they did. So let's talk a little bit about the movement. Okay, we see this country is in this polarizing place. We see it becoming using atheism and religion as a tool to divide. Let's look at the atheist movement and see how they're handling it. So these are the atheist orgs. I'm just going to go over them one by one. The first, we'll start with the good one. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is still doing the job at a reduced capacity. They used to have a bunch of cases, but now they have like two. But if we go over to the Freedom from Religion Foundation website, you can see how much work they're doing. You can see what they're doing. You can see today is the February 14th. They've published 3 things today. And if we read more, this is what they're doing. They seem to be pretty active still. They have 2 cases. Let's look at the cases. Now, I took a look at these lawsuits, and this one seems pretty good. This one seems pretty good. I like this. It's about funding over a Christian learning center. And then there's going to be this one where students were brought by teachers into a religious revival. I'm a layman, so I would love to hear from their lawyers as to how these lawsuits are going to fare given the new thing. But the thing that I wanted to show you is that there's nothing here about the loss of school prayer. There's nothing here about the loss of Levin v. Kurtzman. There is a mention of their convention. Their convention's been announced October 13th through 15th. And as you can see, they've got a few people actually already signed up for their person, including a state representative, is coming to their convention. The only thing that I am worried about with FFRF is that they're left-leaning. There's no conservatives at their convention. That there's a lot less activity. Okay, they've got 2 lawsuits going on, but I really would like to hear from them on how those lawsuits are going to fare. Now, let's look at the next one, American Atheists, which is now mainly a social justice organization. The American Atheists, they disavowed Richard Dawkins over a mild tweet. And if you want to see a juxtaposition, here again is the National Convention for FFRF. Here is the National Convention for American Atheists. This is in 7 weeks. The FFRF convention is in 7 months, and they have 3 speakers announced. The American Atheist National Convention is in 7 weeks, and there are no speakers announced. And they haven't changed the schedule. That's my schedule. That was the schedule right there for the 2018 convention. They've had no legal entries since 2020. They applauded Biden in January. They haven't done anything in a long time. Okay, so when we're looking at American Atheists, you're not seeing an organization that's going to be a leader. So let's look at the next company, Secular Coalition for America. Now, again, also mainly a social justice organization. It's 100% leftist or left-leaning groups. The Congressional Free Thought Caucus, 100% Democrat. Not a single Republican on the Congressional Free Thought Caucus. So we are dividing more. As you can see, they're doing the whole Christian nationalist thing, which makes the issue worse. They're trying to link Christian nationalism with January 6th, which is, again, it's just making things worse. This is not atheism. This is not atheism. This is not promoting atheism. This is trying to bring religion in as a divider. And it's not okay as a political divider. It's not okay. There are atheist Republicans and there are Christian Democrats, and we need to live in that nuance. We need to own that nuance. Let's look at the next organization. And the American Humanist Association is now proudly a social justice organization. They also disavowed Dawkins for a minor tweet, which is ridiculous. And they took away his they took away one of his awards. It's insane what they did. Here's the American Humanist site. If you look there, the first part of their tagline, advocating progressive values. Progressive values first, equality second. So this is a social justice organization now. This is social justice for humanists, atheists, and free thinkers, but it is not the AHA that it used to be. If we look at the legal center, you see that even the latest news is from 2019. That's the legal center. They're completely, apparently, gone. And it's a shame because this was supposed to be a big legal center, and they apparently have gone completely quiet. And so we've got the, the Freedom from Religion Foundation doing about two good lawsuits. Um, American Atheists, SCA, and AHA are just social justice organizations right now, and they're making the matter worse by stoking the fire of division via religious lines. They are trying to, I don't know, I don't want to say that. They're on the way to inciting a religious war, and we don't want that. Okay? Now, I will mention one more organization. I will mention Atheists for Liberty. I'm a big supporter of Atheists for Liberty. I'm on their advisory board. I'm chair of their advisory board. They're the only non-left atheist org in America. They took on the Vaccine Mandate Equality Project, which is important. It's a good analogy because I did another video on that. The Vaccine Mandate Equality Project was a direct attack on religious liberty. It was religious discrimination writ large by our government and by organizations, and the entire atheist movement ignored it. And we were forced to take it on over at Atheists for Liberty. And Atheists for Liberty is being run by a man named Thomas Sheedy, who's 24 years old, and he's doing this part-time. And he's basically doing the entire movement's job by being the non-woke atheist presence everywhere else, the non-woke atheist presence. And it's so important that he does that, but he's smart and he's good. He's not superhuman. He needs a lot of help. He needs those other organizations to jump in and help him out because it's insane what needs to be done. And then there's the atheist movement itself. What used to be so much fun to be around, what used to be a place where people could go and laugh and joke and, go out all and stay out all night and have a bond has become something much more negative, and we need to talk about it. And that is about toxic feminism and cancel culture run amok inside the atheist movement. Men are now being canceled. When I was canceled because people believed a lie, but the lie was that I had done some bad things. That's not even needed anymore. You don't need to do bad things anymore. You just need to be complained about. Men are being canceled for participating in awkward conversations, friendly touches, or just former relationships with bad actors, like this bad actor right here. She turned on a relationship that she'd had years ago after she talked to people and they said, oh no, he's bad. So she went to the press with this, and and these are bad actors, and no crime is too small. And yes, no white man is safe. No white man is safe. They hunt. They look. They hunt. They plot. And lies are acceptable if they just know you're guilty. And this is crazy toxicity. This is crazy toxicity. Why would anybody want to be a part of this? Look at how toxic feminism has taken over what used to be a fun, happy place. What's left? Wimps, babies, and non-leaders. Blubbering men crying about a harmless touch. I couldn't believe that guy Thomas Smith blubbering like a fucking man-child into the microphone because his friend touched him on the hip. Bad actors are the ones that are in control, not the activists. That's the problem. The bad actors are in control. The activists have taken a back seat. Local activists are dealing now with who's being accused of what instead of real activism. They're wasting their time and time and time off of who said something slightly awkwardly and who slept with whom how many years ago, and did they ever have an active moment, and how did that make you feel? Activists for other causes in our movement affecting us away from our core mission. What does that mean? Well, that means that there are people in our movement who are not in our movement. They're not activists for our movement. They're activists for BLM. They're activists for social justice. They're activists for other causes inside our movement, pushing their stuff inside our movement. causing mission drift, creating mission drift, taking us off of our game and at the worst possible time. So who will lead now? Who would come here? Who would take over an organization and lead and move it forward, knowing how toxic this environment is? Can you imagine coming into this environment right now, knowing that people, if they want, they'll just lie. They'll just lie just to take you down. Would you want to be a part of that? Would you join this movement knowing some people will lie about you just to mess with you? Or just for personal gain? Just for personal gain. They'll do that. And it's gross and it's disgusting. And so, the summary, the organizations have drifted way off the mission, actively participating in religious divide, while toxic feminism has muted or expelled our leaders and turned them into little tiny crybabies. So we don't have leaders, and we don't have, well, we don't have a hospitable, a nice place to be. We don't have a hospitable community anymore. We have a toxic community. We have a community that hunts people. We have a community that is not married to our movement, but is married to other movements instead. And so and this is all happening when the country needs us the most. After we've had those big losses, the country needs us the most to focus. The country needs us the most to see and to do and to act. But we're not acting. We're floundering. And we're working on other people's movements. We're working in other movements instead of our own. And we're losing rights because of it. And we're barreling toward what could be a religious war. We need to stop this. So I've talked about the state of the country and the world and the state of the movement. I want to talk about now is what I would change, what needs to change in this movement, in my opinion. And it's kind of a lot, okay? So what needs to change? Well, in the big picture, as we look on the left, we need to understand that while we want religion defeated, this must not be by dogma, but rather by skepticism, discussion, debate, talking about it, defeating it the old-fashioned way, not by force, but by common sense and words, because we're right, not because we're powerful. As we use our momentum in the Democratic Party, we must champion religious freedom and support religious rights. We have to be the good guys here. We do not want to be China. Why? Well, Chairman Mao was very anti-religion. He made sure that everybody knew that religion was the enemy of the people. But he did not talk about skepticism. He just talked about dogmatic atheism. And so what you have in China is you have a whole bunch of atheists who believe in ghosts and spirits and demons, and they have wood across their doors so that the ghosts can't come in. There's no knowledge there. And of course, the numerology and the astrology is crazy. They're not skeptical people. It does not benefit them. There's a lot of scams happening in China. We don't want that. We don't want dogmatic atheism. We want informed atheism via skepticism. And we need to do that. The only way we can do that is by fostering religious liberty, religious equality. We do not want to dominate. We just want equality. On the right, any linkage between leftism and atheism must be fought. It will just create further division and incite possible violence. I don't want religious wars, folks. I don't want religious people being forced over there and then gelling with them and forcing the atheists out. That's not going to end well. We can't do that. So we need to challenge with positive vigor the anti-atheist sentiment, which is now rising on the right. And that means that we have to be in there and doing that, okay? We can't leave. We have to be in there working. We have to support and attract the many non-leftist liberals who are coming over and use their size. There's a whole bunch of people like me. There's a whole bunch of libertarians and liberal non-leftists who have left the Democratic Party because of the leftism, And when they come into the right, there has to be a welcoming space for them. There has to be a welcoming space for them. If we can make a welcoming space for atheists on the right, if we can achieve a critical mass, we can have an effect on what they do. That's the point. That's the idea. We can't have an effect on what they do if we're not there. And there's going to be a whole bunch of atheists there. If the right is pushing the atheists away, we got to stop that from happening. We got to push back in. And so now let's look at the legal issues, okay? One thing that we can't do when it comes to the legal issues is pretend that didn't happen. To put our head in the sands and pretend it didn't happen. We can't do that. We've had defeats. We lost Lemon, like I said. We lost the Lemon test. We lost our line in the sand. So now we need a new line in the sand. Where is it? What could it be? How do we make it? So what we need is a legal symposium. All of the movement's best lawyers together in one room to discuss strategy, what we need to reestablish the separation of church and state to the best that we can. Where is it possible, and what kind of a lawsuit would we need for a perfect lawsuit to make that happen, especially given today's Supreme Court. We need to use the local orgs then to find the lawsuits, to find the plaintiffs. And that's how we establish, that's how we will find a new way to establish separation of church and state, protect it, at least to the degree that we can. And our presence on the right may help. Our presence on the right may mitigate religious lawsuits, and it may give us strength from within the Republican side to fight that kind of pressure from that side. Now, we also lost school vouchers, and that means that we need to engage in the fight at the local and state level to ban private school vouchers wherever we can. We need to advertise about the negative effects of private school vouchers on students and on the school system. And our presence on the right may help. It may mitigate religious voucher efforts because we'll be there to talk about spending money. We'll be there to talk about the use of money for religious purposes. And we lost school prayer. So that's a painful one, right? That's a painful one. We need to support kids in schools, okay? So we need to tell them when they have to attend prayer, when they don't, what are their options. They no longer know. Nobody knows. We have to support the teachers. What is positive and negative when it comes to kids and school prayer? We have to advertise about the negative effects on school prayer to the kids, to the mentality, to the school, to the school itself. We have to talk about it. We have to spend money. We have to get loud. We have to have stunts. We have to have events. We have to do something to attract attention to these issues so that people can talk about them. Otherwise, we're just going to ooze into this future where there's just going to be school prayer everywhere and there's not going to be anybody fighting it. Local and state movements to restrict prayer if legally possible. I don't know if that's going to be legally possible. We have to talk about it. And then we have to talk about the other stuff. How will this affect intelligent design? How will this affect the teaching of intelligent design over evolution? We don't know. We have to find out, and we have to plan for it. And again, once again, our presence on the right, it's a drum I keep banging, may mitigate religious incursion into schools because we'll be there to fight against it. And what needs to change as far as the community? Toxic feminism must be recognized and discouraged, okay? We can't pretend anymore that toxic feminism doesn't exist or that it's just male fragility when we complain about it. Toxic feminism is shit and it deserves to die just as much as religion does. False allegations must be seen as assault. They are. And the bad actors need to be expelled from the movement. Conference policies must defend the accused as well as the accuser, because it must be recognized that the accuser might be just full of shit. People need to feel welcomed but not hunted, not judged for every word. We need to foster kindness for awkwardness. Laugh it off. See? When toxic feminists complain, let them go. They're not welcome. They're not needed. They bring no value to the movement at all. They bring zero value. In fact, they bring negative value. Their effect on the movement cannot be more obvious, and these ugly on the inside people need to go. Rat out rats. If you see somebody doing toxic feminism, spill it. Expose and expel those who seek to destroy allies, especially for personal gain. Oh, by the way, speaking of personal gain, this is, what's that woman's name? Sharon Frankel. This is Sharon Frankel, and just to let you know, she has recently updated her IMDb page after she went to the press calling herself an actor and went to the press for sleeping with that guy and regretting it. She updated her IMDb page, so just to let you know. It's not about testicles. It's about balls. If you haven't been hurt much, you haven't been hurt. Walk it off. Stop complaining. Wipe the tears from your eyes. You don't mess with someone's life for nothing. And if you're not hurt, it's nothing. That's the attitude that we need to push. When somebody comes to you with tears in their eyes and says, somebody touched me on the hip, and now I want to cry to you about it, tell that person to straighten the fuck up and grow a pair. Because it's ridiculous. We have to be stronger. We're activists, for crying out loud. We're not babies. We're activists. We're here to fight. We're not losers. We're not wimps. We're not wussies. We don't cry because somebody touched us. We don't go to the paper because we had an awkward text conversation. We're activists. We're strong. We're powerful. That's what we have to act like. That's what we have to be. Not this constant victimhood. We need to attract our leaders. Alpha leaders are attracted by strong movements, not crybabies. People who are going to come in, the next generation of leaders, the people who are going to lead this movement back to where it could be, they're not going to be attracted to the movement if everybody's a whiny little crybaby. Oh my God. We have to stop that. We have to stop allowing people to ruin each other. We have to take away the mentality. We have to kill the culture we have to kill cancel culture in our movement. We have to kill it. We have to destroy it. We have to cancel these people who are doing it, throw them out. Throw them out. Put in a conference policy that says, hey, false allegations suck. If you make false allegations, we'll file charges against you. And then we should have a party like we used to. Remember when conventions were 1,000 people strong? Remember the fun we used to have? Remember the camaraderie that built? Remember the bonding? Remember when you would leave a convention buzzing because of all of the energy? That's what we need to bring back. And we only get that from cohesiveness, group cohesiveness. And we only get group cohesiveness when we throw all the ones that want to take away the cohesiveness out. We can't have them. They're toxic, they're negative, and they bring nothing to the table. In fact, they bring negativity to the table. If you look at what the toxic feminists have done to the AHA, look at what they've done to AA, look at what they've done to the SCA, the SSA. These folks are killing our movement when we need it most. And we need to reverse course and fast. Final thoughts. Yeah, remember that party? That was a hell of a party down there. That was 30,000 people down there. And, maybe it was the pinnacle of the movement, but I think we can do this again. I think we can achieve this again. I think we can ditch the feminism, ditch the toxicity, rather. and refocus on our methods, refocus on our place, refocus on our core mission, and we can win the day again. We need, of course, to attract much more people. And yes, that means Republicans. That means Democrats. That means lefties and righties, because the commonality that we have is not because we're Democrats, but because we're atheists. We don't believe in God, and we exist along the entire political spectrum. Own it. We need to delight, once again, in the diversity and critical thinking. Yeah, you're going to sit down with Republicans. You're going to talk. It'll be fine. It'll be good. Maybe you'll learn. Maybe they'll learn. Prove you're right. Gossip sucks, right? Gossip sucks. Do activism and mind your own business. Create a welcoming environment for good people. Redouble our focus on core issues. Separation of church and state, critical inquiry, and atheist acceptance everywhere. Again, separation of church and state, critical inquiry, atheist acceptance everywhere. That's where we need to focus. That's where we need to refocus. Abortion, LGBT rights, and other causes do not need us. They are bigger than us, and they are fighting their own causes, and they have all the movements that they want. But the country needs us to fight our cause. And that's the point that I wanted to leave you with tonight. The country needs us to fight our causes. Those other causes fight their cause. And we need to not allow people from other causes to derail us from the very, very important cause that is the separation of religion and government and critical thought. Stop infighting. Oh my goodness. The infighting, we got past infighting back in the 90s, okay? And it's happening again. This company's not talking to that company, and this company hates Dawkins, and that company loves Dawkins. It's stupid. We have a cause to fight. We have a war to win. We just got our teeth kicked in. We should not be nitpicking at each other for nothing. We should not be complaining at each other because we disagree on small stuff. We agree 100% on all of the important stuff. Not the social justice stuff, not the abortion stuff, the separation of church and state stuff, the atheism everywhere stuff. That's the core stuff. And our country needs us to be there. So, a little levity. I wanted to show you a little more of Sharon Frankel's reel because she's such a powerful actress. And you know, now that she has a total of 7, not 4, 7 videos on YouTube. She's upgraded her page since she got the press for turning in her bullshit, for turning in her ex-boyfriend. She got a nice little press hit, and so now we're going to talk a little bit more. Yes, that guy is dressed like that. We're going to just have a little bit more of the acting talent that is Sharon Frankel. This is going to be fun.
You have been called upon this board to determine if you are worthy to continue your duties. You used your powers recklessly and it backfired.
Need I remind you, all's well that ends well?
Science point makes a valid point.
I don't have to agree with Einstein.
Dealing with a mild nuisance like a smoker is hardly the best use of your abilities.
Not to mention celebrating Christmas in general.
What's wrong with Christmas?
We are people of science. Science does not gel with a religious holiday with pagan elements.
You reevaluated your case, and because you demonstrated true heroism,
Someone has to defeat that asshole. Who did you think we were going to go?
Ghostbusters?
So, yes, the amazing and stunningly talented Sharon Frankel, who had sex once. That guy had sex with her. And we know this because she went to the press as an actress and told them about it afterwards. And then she upgraded her IMDb page. So I want to take a moment to thank you for being with me today, for being here today. I do appreciate it. I know it was a bit of a longer video, but I wanted to say what's here. We have massive, massive problems, and we're not paying attention to them. We're just taking our eye off the ball completely. And I hope this video inspires you to help the movement get back into shape and get back on course to something much more productive than a religious war. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks.